Uncommon Arrangements, 7 Portraits of Married Life in London Literary Circles by Katie Roiphe presents intimate portraits of the unconventionally married, including the likes of literary greats H.G. Wells and Catherine Mansfield. The book has already been acclaimed as provocative, dishy, and fun. Let's talk to the author about it. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks.
How did the idea for the book first come to you?
Well, I really started with the idea that I wanted to write about marriage and answer these kind of eternal questions. I was interested in certain people and in certain questions. So I started by looking into these marriages and reading the diaries and the memoirs and kind of immersing myself in them. Also, I did choose that time period because I feel like in many ways it mirrors our own time period.
Can you give us a glimpse into your research process?
A lot of these people, as I've said, I've been living with for a long time. So letters were on my shelves, biographies on my shelves, people like Rebecca West, who I've always been obsessed with and thinking about. And then I moved into the library, and I actually had a cubicle at the New York Public Library, which is like the best place to do research of all time. You know, I went into the Berg collection, their rare books collection, and read letters. And it's very thrilling in a very geeky kind of way when you actually look at the handwriting of the people that you're writing about. And it really does feel like the moments that you're thinking about are coming alive. To me, this kind of research is just more fun than anything else, and partly because you rarely get to see inside a marriage. Even with your closest friends, I feel, how much do you really know about their marriages? People are incredibly private about their marriages. So for me, part of the thrilling thing of researching and writing this book was about seeing inside a marriage in a way that you really don't get to. Why do people stay together? Why do they break up? What's the role of friendship in marriage? Those kind of questions. As I'm like in the dusty pages of these old books, these stories were coming to life that I didn't know myself going in. For instance, Vera Brittain, who had a marriage which she coined the term semi-detached marriage, in which she and her husband lived on different continents. A lot of these people did decide to get married, and that is interesting. And also, the other side of that is they decided not to get divorced. Long after they'd separated from their husband or wife, they would stay married without getting divorced. And to me, that was very interesting because it tells you something about the power of the institution itself.
Just how uncommon were the arrangements such as the ones you highlighted?
One of the most kind of intriguing and troubling couples, I wrote about H.G. Wells and his wife, Jane. And he had an idea of an open marriage in which he was basically allowed to have all kinds of affairs, which he called passades. And he called this arrangement a modus vivendi. He used lots of fancy Latin terms to obscure his philandering. And his wife knew everything about his affairs. Their pact was one of total honesty. And he was traveling all over the world and having these affairs, and his wife was home with the children. And he had especially, which I talk about, an affair with the social critic Rebecca West that lasted for about a decade. He was sort of flouting all the conventions of the day and living according to his feelings and, you know, defying Victorian hypocrisy, and that this was a great thing. And so what I really tried to look at is, how did his wife really feel? What was really going on in this marriage? Did the mistresses think, oh, everything's okay?
People feel that the late Victorians were very proper and even repressed.
This particular group of people had both. These very conservative traditional ideas kind of pounded into them when they were children, and these modern, intoxicating ideas about equality and progress and sexual freedom.
Are the couples connected?
Most of them were friends with each other. They went to the same parties. They really did watch each other. And that was one of the things that was interesting to me, is how they saw each other. To me, there was a lot of things in these relationships and the way that we romanticize the past and tradition and old-fashioned roles of marriage at the same time as we want equality and progress. And you know, that I really see playing themselves out in the marriages of people I know.
Katie, thank you so much. It's a really fascinating book.
Thank you.